Greetings, warlords. Welcome to SAGA Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. I am your host, Rodge, joined once again by Monty. Monty, how's it going, buddy?
It's going great, Rodge. How about yourself?
Oh, we are doing great over here, and we are recording this. Is it 1 week? 2 weeks after Adepticon at this point?
It's a blur.
Blur. Maybe 1 week after.
1 week. Sounds right.
So this episode is going to be mostly about Adepticon and my experiences there. Now, fortunately, Monty, you were slated to go.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you weren't able to make it. I'll let you, I'll just say, I just told folks you couldn't make it, but if you want to say anything about that.
Look, I mean, it's tough. All the painting, all the planning, but my wife badly injured her knee, and I always tell my buddies, family first. I couldn't really go out the door with the thought that like I would be out of pocket, far away for 6 days. So if she had any issues, we had any snow, if we had really anything, I would be off on the road and couldn't help. So
yeah.
So I needed to stay home. That was I missed it. But luckily, you guys kept me up to date. So next best thing is living vicariously through your buddies.
Yeah. So it turns out there was some nasty weather there, Monty.
A blizzard.
That's for the end. That's the end
home.
of the tale. I won't jump to the end quite at this moment. So yeah, Adepticon was rolling up on us very quick after Fimbulwinter. So I had a ton of preparation to do after Fimbulwinter, but I had a family vacation planned, so I was gone for 7, 8, or 9 days, whatever that was. So I did not get to Adepticon preparation in earnest until February 28th, Monty. And so from February 28th to March 20th, the day we were leaving, I was painting like a furious madman. And I actually completed a brand new army. Monty, I can't know what you've grokked from your position.
I saw it
out there. But yeah, it's an Irish army in the first incarnation. So these are going to be the poor boys. I'm going to spin this off into a few different factions. And I don't have super good pictures of it quite yet, but I talk about that in the March Patreon video, a little bit about the painting and how I did with them in the Age of Vikings and Invasion singles. So I'm not going to get into that in this report, but I had a lot of fun. Could have used some more practice games for sure, but I'm really happy to have these done. So this army was kind of a speed paint for me, Monty. So between February 28th, I finished them on March 13th or the 12th. It was 13 days I spent on this army. So they were all assembled, but the painting was done over those 13 days. And it was 36 levy, 28 warriors, 3 objectives, and 6 heroes. So I did Jav heroes and heavy weapon heroes.
Damn.
It's quite productive.
You have come over to the dark side, the speedy painting side. Nicely done.
Yeah, so these are the Wargames Atlantic and Gripping Beast plastic kits, and I'm going to at some point have a video reviews of these and talk more about the painting on those, but I'm really, really happy with how they turned out. And then from the 14th to 20th, I had a week to turn around. I did 3 Carthaginian contingent warriors on foot. I did 10 Numidian cavalry and 2 heavy chariots. So I'm counting those as 5 each because there's 4 armored horses. They're on 100 millimeter rounds, and I'll share a picture of those later as I get to those games. Plus the chariots, so those are 5 each. I'm counting, and then 3 objectives for the Carthaginians, Carthaginian gold. And so that adds up to 99 models over those 3 weeks.
Wow. Okay, dude, respect.
So needless to say, I'm quite burnt out on Saga painting, but so I'm going to take a break here for the next month or two. But I have a really solid foundation for future warband expansion with the poor boys here, with the Carthaginians can be turned, the Numidian, yeah. The core is set for a slew of new armies in the future without too much work. So really happy with that. And Monty, you kind of dropping out there at the end did save me. So if you'd stayed in, I would have concentrated on our display board and objectives and stuff we were building. So I painted up until basically Wednesday. I just finished right before we left. So I would have had to drop the heavy chariots probably. They just wouldn't have been finished. And in fact, they're only about 85% finished at this point. So I still have them on my paint desk. I want to go back, finish them. Some things just didn't get done on them, even though they look pretty good. So I would have had a very sad Carthaginian list without those heavy chariots. So your dropping out gave me the time I needed to finish those up. So thank you for that, sir. Thank you for your service.
Wow.
Okay, so that was the prep work for me. Like I said, I was very busy up until the event, and fortunately, doing that painting on the day of, I forgot a ton of things. Forgot my display board, forgot the SAGA THORSDAY hat, so I wasn't able to properly intimidate my opponents during the games. Got 3 or 4 other things as well, which I'm now forgetting, but throughout the weekend, it was just, forgot to grab that. It's too bad. But let's move on to some Saga games. So Thursday was Age of Crusades, and Monty, you were going to participate with your Mutatawiya,
right?
Correct.
I had my biggest hope for that. I had some good tricks. I had got 5 very solid reps under my belt at Fimbulwinter. I'd like to point out for next year, if you're a big Saga player and you want to tune up for Adepticon, there's probably nothing better than if you can run your army in a 2-day event. I mean, that is solid.
Yeah, so you weren't the only returning Fimbulwinter player. So Scott was back running the same list.
Yep.
Adam, the winner of Fimbulwinter, was back running the same list. Stephen Hollowell was there running the same list.
Wow.
And we had a bunch of other people as well. So that one ended up with 30 players in the end. And the top table was Stephen Holdeman and Scott DeRung, but Scott ended up taking that game in the end. So he was declared the overall winner. And Adam Trenzo came in with Best General. So he Fimbulwinter, he got Best General here. And then Best Sports, Stephen Holman was Best Sport. Bring up. Can't quite read this tiny writing on the screen right now. So give me 1 second. I'll be able to bring up Best Painted. That was, of course, Chris Foreman with his Saracens.
Oh, nice.
So,
yep.
I forget that. So congrats to all those guys. So that's the event that I was running, and it ended up, so there's 30 for that. We had 29 for Vikings, 27 teams, and ended up 18 with the ringer for Age of Hannibal.
Okay.
So that one was a little smaller.
Interesting.
Last year. So this ended up being the biggest event.
Wow. Yeah.
Of the weekend. So I think, Saga is a good side game for some people. So I think we've had big Thursdays in the past. So people will do Age of Sigmar or whatever their main jam is Saturday and Friday. And then Thursday they're free for a little Saga action. So,
Rodge, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I just so I know with the weather coming in, with the heavy snow and blizzards predicted for Sunday night, did the Age of Vikings get kind of hit by that? Were people cutting out early to try to beat the weather, or was that really not a factor for your Sunday?
possibly for Sunday, there was only two people that were missing.
Okay, not
but
bad,
one dropped
not
in,
bad.
so there's 3 missing. But there's 3 missing for 3 no-shows for Thursday, and there's 3 no-shows
Okay.
on Sunday.
Yeah,
and
so
then
not really. Like if you had 8 dropping, like maybe, I just know that Age of Vikings, especially combined with Age of Invasions, is generally like the most popular. So kudos to Age of Crusades for kind of sneaking in and taking that top spot for most well represented.
Yeah, and so you could, yeah, who really knows why all
Yeah,
these
I
people
know,
are signing
right?
up? You could also
True.
attribute it's been 5 years since there's been a standalone Crusades event. So
Fair.
was it Thursday? Was it Crusades? I think a lot of people had to build war bands specifically for this event. So good Adepticon tradition,
Yeah.
we always have a ton of Vikings. Who are the Crusaders of the Viking Age?
Nope.
Or who are the Vikings of the Crusaders Age? It's Crusaders, of course. Age
Everywhere.
of Crusades, Age of Vikings, of course. You're gonna have a war band. So ended up being a lot of fun. Yeah. Any questions about that event or anything, Monty?
No, I think the matchup on that top table. I love the fact that mutts are sometimes a little bit. I don't want to say disparaged. I mean, truth is, some really good people have taken the tournaments and they haven't really been able to perform. They haven't really hit those top spots in the past. So it's nice seeing them make the top table. And I do think they're a really good matchup for the Crusaders. That's like if I'm running mutts and I see Crusaders, maybe not with double crossbow, but but minus the double crossbow.
Sure,
If I see
yeah.
Crusaders, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to playing the mutts. And this was my first day, but I don't know. After Fimbulwinter, just running and playing, I was exhausted that first night. And all throughout Adepticon, I was pretty much beat like every day after supper and just went back to my rooms. And next year, I'm not going to be. So last year, I brought recording equipment. We recorded some stuff. I did a battle report. I brought that stuff this year with the intention, but I was just too beat. So I think I'm probably at that age, Monty, where I can't keep going like I used to.
So, dude, I'm older than you, so I know that pain. It's not great, and it will bite you in the ass over a 4-day event. But my secret, which isn't much of a secret, is that for lunch, I would grab something very small, very light, like a salad. Don't want anything heavy in my gut for like the big, next 2 games, and a double espresso. It's a little late in the day to have a double espresso, but that was the rocket fuel that would help me get across the finish line. But by the 4th day, I've screwed up my sleep. I don't sleep on the road very well to start with. So all that caffeine has kicked my ass. And I think I maybe on day 4 last year had to take a nap out on a bench. Like, how humiliating is that? Like, I mean, people are like, what the hell is that? I'm like, I need a nap. So tired.
Yeah, it was the sleep. Really got my sleep was totally disrupted. The weird rich meals, boozing, caffeine later than usual, pick me up, and everything else. I got one okay night, and the rest were just junk sleep. So that's probably what did it. But if you want pictures of all the beautiful armies and display boards, I mean, Adepticon is the most beautiful event for painting, hands down, for Saga. I don't think anybody could dispute that. Head on over to Saga Thursday Discord, go down to hashtag Saga Tournaments. Dan and DJ posted plenty of pics of all the different armies. I did see a ton on Saga Storm group and on the main Saga group, Facebook as well. So too many to really share in this video here, but lots of lovely forces.
Right. If I can sweep in behind you on that point. So as someone who is following this very closely on a daily, sometimes even hourly basis, I want to commend all of the Saga players because I have never seen in any historical event, I've never seen better boards. And I mean, they do good stuff in bolt action. They do good stuff in the hall over by you. But the Saga group just blew it away this year. I was looking each day and I'm like, holy Hannah. Like it's an arms race and everyone is racing to the front of the pack and just so many beautiful boards, beautiful painting, all the little bits and kits. And yeah, so 100%, if you're not on the Discord, join the Discord so you could go see the photo dump. And I think it would be both inspiring and also just kind of breathtaking to just see all that good work.
Definitely. So yeah, people have, even over last year, it was a really good showing, and people have taken it up since then. So yeah, really, really good stuff. Had a blast running Crusades, and the next day was the Age of Hannibal and
Yes.
Alexander. So this will probably be the meat of our discussion here. I'll talk a little bit about the team tournament the following day as well. And Sunday is in the Patreon video. So this will be our meat here because, Monty, you were planning on running Carthaginians as well. So this is, I talked a little bit. So we had discussions, some practice games ahead of time, spitballing around, trying to figure out what we're going to do here. So my final configuration in the end here, which required quite a bit of painting, was the 2 heavy chariots. So I'm starting back in time with the Carthaginians, and I'm going to be moving forward in time. So eventually I'll have a build with an elephant and some Gauls and Spanish. And so this is kind of like first Punic War, pre-first Punic War, and I'll have a second Punic War version. So this one is the heavy chariots, which have their pros and their cons, but they hit like a bucket of rocks. Or, pretty good. I had a unit of 4 Hearthguard. We discussed the Hearthguard. They're not particularly great or necessarily well supported, but you have to take the warlord on a horse, and he is a very vulnerable guy. So I had 4 Hearthguard, and I could put them on foot, and I could mount them if I wanted, and I did between games, switch back and forth. And then the rest was 4 points of warriors. So these were all contingent warriors. And I had 22 Numidian horseman models, and I had 11 Greeks on foot, essentially. And those would be the contingents on foot. So I had some options there, but the way that I ran them in all 3 games, and I really, really, really liked it, was 2 units of 11 Numidian horsemen and 1 unit of 10 contingents on foot. And so the option there was I could have a unit of 11 horsemen and then 2 units of 5 if I wanted, and then bump up the foot guys to 11. Or I could split the foot guys into 2 units of 5, just pure Saga dice, and keep the horsemen at 2 times 11. But after playing the games, I really liked, and this was kind of how my Irish played as well. I had big units, and they have the old ways, and the Carthaginians have whatever the name of that ability is, where you can activate 3 mounted units for 1 die. So that basically offset having 1 less Saga die. And then my units had a lot of tooth. If the enemy were to come in, if I could launch an attack. So the Carthaginians can't get any extra dice on attack, really. There's a couple plays for making yourself a little nastier, but for the most part, the attack dice you start with are what you have to play with. So having big units was essential for being able to hit hard if I really needed to. Now, Monty, what were you going to bring?
Damn near the same thing. I mean, we'd done some test games, and I had seen the light on the chariot as my Alpha Strike hammer, and I was going to mix that with the envelopment ruse, and either bring in some horsemen. I think the limit was 6 figures, so it could be 6 Numidian horsemen on outflank. Or the chariot is like a hammer unit, all my dice committed to like an Alpha Strike. And I had an idea that maybe even if someone was changing their deployment or kind of turtling up turn 1, then envelopment would hopefully be worth the 3 points that you paid for the ruse, if it makes people change how they played turn 1 or put their troops on the table. So yeah, almost the same build.
Sure. So yeah, speaking of ruses, so I chose Offering to the Gods. I can't remember. We did our ruse episode. I can't remember if this is what I chose or overlap, but offering to the gods. So that gives you 3 rerolls. Plus, you can sacrifice up to 3 dice on your first turn to get more rerolls to 6. So that one was fine. You know, having rerolls is handy. I thought it was a little themey with Carthaginians being known for sacrificing children. So how many kids am I going to burn before we start here? And then the other 3, one was the +1 armor if you're exhausted, which I forgot about. I don't remember ever using it. The other one was movement that doesn't give you a fatigue. So this was good for all 3 games, and you could just use it with the Carthaginian or the Numidian horseman, move up, shoot, and then scoot without a fatigue. So that was an option. And then the other one was, I believe, increasing the distance of a move by short or medium if you're cav, but you have to stay more than medium from any other unit. So that one came handy as well. So those were my bruises. And like you said, we were spitballing beforehand on Tabletop Simulator. So we took turns. We're talking, all right, we're going to be facing successors for sure. So let's figure it out. And so we took turns playing. One would be successors and one would be the Carthaginians. And as I recall, when we were playing, whoever was playing the Carthaginians never won. The successors won every one of our test games.
It was, Rodge, so the idea was to build up our confidence, but it kind of left my confidence in tatters. And I remember at the late date, I thought, why the hell am I doing this? Why am I trying to, take Carthage? I'm just going to get trashed.
So, going into it, round 1, Monty, who should I be matched up against? I do have a picture for this one. This is a picture of the battlefield. I believe this is at the end of the game here, but I was matched up against our old friend, Chicago Saga guy, Terry Donor.
Nice.
What was he running, Monty? Can you guess?
I think he told me, it's a blur. The weekend's a blur for me, and I actually slept.
It is Successors.
Oh,
buddy.
yes. There we go, right out of the gate.
So, he was running the Divite ones, so a little more defense and efficiency there, fatigue removal. So, I'll cut to the chase and say I played Successors for all 3 games, Bonnie.
Wow. Ouch.
The game plan each time was to put down as much terrain as possible. It's not good for me. Most of my stuff's mounted, but it hurts him. Or the idea was it would hurt them a little bit more than it hurt me. So I can move around it faster, and he's a little slower is the idea, and he doesn't want to go into it. And it kind of gives me a little base. I could put my contingent warriors on foot, can move into it, and there's stuff you can do. So you can see plenty of terrain, the table. And so this is the one variation of violation, desecration, where you get 3 objectives. They don't win you the game, but you have to destroy them to win. And Monty, do you remember? Do you remember what I said my game plan was for this scenario? If I was playing Successors.
I think. Oh gosh, I mean, you had a number of game plans, but one of them was to just kind of do not much and then kind of like blitz turn 4 and 5. Like you're just not trying to it's like being in the ring with, say, Mike Tyson. You want to be in there as short as possible if you want to have a prayer, because if he gets all those rounds, you're going to get rocked.
Sure. Well, so that was the game plan for round 3 for the third game. For this first one, my idea was, we keep on losing, so my goal is to pop an objective or 2 and just make sure I get out ahead. And so if it ends up being a draw or a loss, but I've popped the objectives and he hasn't, by pure victory points, it might be we both have 25 kills or something from a bloody game. But if I can score the full 25 and they can only score the 10, it'll be a
right.
But I put down too much terrain, Monty. So I put one objective. I had to put one objective like pretty close to Terry. So I think he went first. So immediately first turn, he pops one. He's up ahead. So that game plan is completely out the window. But so it ended up being, so Terry had 1 Sarissa unit or 2 Sarissa units. he had 2 of the scythe chariots. So he was planning, that was his anti-successor plan, was those scythe chariots. He had 3 small units of Hearthguard just in the pure phalanx, so they could move medium and stuff. They weren't armed with Sarissas. And so the game plan, I kind of bullied those little Hearthguard units, ended up shooting at them, coming back, coming in, shooting, and then eventually one of my cav units took one out. The heavy chariots took another one out. I took out one of the scythe chariot. That in meeting horsemen, all I have to do is get in and touch them, and they're go down. So
right.
And then in the middle, so I popped one of the objectives off on the left, and then he kind of fell back to protect the other 2. So it ended up being a low-scoring game. I think I had maybe 15 or 16, the most you could get for popping one objective, and I think Terry had 9 or 10. So I was just playing really conservatively, and game came out with the win.
Yeah, that's a little close. That was a little close. And like you said, started on your back foot. Nicely done.
So, being a decent game. Now, after this, I don't have pictures of the other 2 games, but the second game was against Adam Trunzo, Monty.
Yeah, you guys are playing quite a bit lately.
Yeah, he's the winter champion. He knows what he's doing.
Yes,
Monty, he was running Successors Divite, but a unit of 2 armored elephants.
Wow.
He was in a single unit.
Wow.
And then he used his ruses to give them determination somehow.
Holy
he was able to beef them up, so they were able to chug along. He had a big unit of Sarissas, like a 12-pack, and then 2 units of Levy. I think maybe 2 units of 9 Levy bows, and then a smaller Hearthguard unit hanging back. And Monty, I think I said my plan for this one was to just strike their warlord first or second turn and then just hope for the best. But did completely the opposite of that. That warlord made it through the end of the game. And actually, Monty, so did the elephants as well. Wow. I got them exhausted at one point, but just played really conservative and didn't really get close to them if I could help it. And so the elephant, they didn't really play a part in the game. What happened was on one flank, I had the chariots with some horsemen, and Adam, he went for the strike on those heavy chariots. I think he did a triple move into them with his big pike block.
Ooh.
And one of them's fatigue free, so he just came in with 1. They just have 4 attacks if you can get into them, defensively. But he just got in there. He didn't roll very well, didn't have much support, so he did 1 hit in the end.
Wow.
And so they ended up with 2 fatigues. He bounced. And then on my turn, I was able to rest the chariots and just charge them in, remove the other fatigue with that 2-die ability. And then it takes a lot of dice to do that. So even though he's in my face, I'm spending a lot of dice. And so I charge in. I got the 12 attacks plus the 2 auto hits. And then this turn, I did not have... So throughout the games, tenacity and coordination. So reroll 4 defense dice and exploding 6s on defense dice were key for keeping the horsemen alive. Well, on this turn, I just didn't have enough dice for tenacity, the rerolls. And so I had coordination, but I didn't have tenacity. And so I was like looking at it. I was like, coordination without tenacity, isn't really worth it. So I might as well just use it on my chariots here as they charge in. This will be the best I can do, and maybe I'll get a couple 6s. And so I ended up rolling on the 12 dice. I think I got 5 or 6 6s,
Ooh,
Monty. So
wow, it's a dream.
Yeah, he closed ranks, but I had 15 or 16 hits in the end, rolled really well. And there's that ability that Carthaginians can make you reroll saves. So I think he started with 12, maybe lost 1 before, and went from 11 down to 2 guys. So I got 9 of them.
Wow.
In that big attack. So that pike block was eliminated.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so that was huge. And chatting afterwards, we just think he probably went in a turn too early because he had to extend so much to reach the chariots that I could just hammer them on my turn.
Right.
And then I moved back a little bit afterwards, but he didn't have anything to smash me after that, to keep the smash train going
right.
I exposed myself to blow up the Sarissas. I was just kind of able to safely do that. So on his, yeah.
So sorry, just real quick, because it flashed in my mind here. So after his long reach charge that does almost nothing, one hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did he, so I'm assuming his free poke didn't do anything either? Because that's what makes the
I had delay. I think I had delay.
Oh, wow.
And so that was the one time I had delay going. So
huge.
Yeah, you could see he goes in, exhausts them, and that's like the worst case scenario. You would almost say is they're surely going to be exhausted and can do the poke.
Exactly.
But, yeah, so that ended up being the case there.
Nice.
So on his following turns, he ends up kind of moving his army up to contest the objectives, and then I smash the chariots again. I'm just going full throttle with those into the levies. He's moved up the horsemen. So at this point, about half his army is eliminated. The heavy chariots, he ends up taking them out, but towards the end of the game, he's just got his warlord, and the elephants are in the middle. They're exhausted through fatigue bombs and shots at them. But I've been scoring most of the objectives on the left side and my back side. I grabbed the one on his back with the other horseman units. He just kind of went off a little prematurely. And if he had just kind of pushed up and taken 3 out of the 5 objectives and formed a nice battle line, he might have. And that's like what we were doing in our test games and found it quite insurmountable.
Yep.
So I would have had to do something and it probably wouldn't have worked, or I would have traded, but then in the counterattack, just kind of lost my ass. So ended up being a good game there for sure. Especially since won any test games.
Right. That's it.
Now, round 3, I'm actually going to defer because round 3 was against Steven Holdeman. So this was the top table game for the age of Hannibal and Hannibal and Let's get wild. Let's mix Hannibal and Invasions and Vikings and Alexander and see what happens. Hannibal Alexander. So I've got Steven on the hook. He is the winner of Hannibal and Invasions. So he has agreed to chat with me. It's on the schedule. We haven't done it yet. So I'm going to save the talk of that game for that video. So I'm not going to repeat myself here. But we just go to the results. We'll see that Steven ended up being the winner in that game. But it was a little more complicated than that. It was a very close game. And this was where I did get my hardware Monty. I'm holding up the best general right here.
Nice.
So Steven and I had a draw in that game, and you'll be able to hear all about it. And it was so close on both sides. I would say we were kind of just having a slap fight. None of our attacks quite landed for a long time. So any number of those die rolls could have gone differently, and it would have been a victory for him or a victory for me. It was such a close fight game. So we'll be able to hear all about that when we talk to Steven. Britt was the winner for best appearance with his beautiful Indians, and
nice.
The best sport was Jim Randall. Right? Io. So that was a fun event, and Steven was playing the whatever the middle successor is. So it wasn't Divite. It was the one with the abilities in the middle. Hubris. I don't think it's Hubris. It's the third one. That one, Monty, that one's much scarier than the Divite crew. So if I'm going to delve into successors, that's actually going to be the one that I choose, I think.
So
successors You know, those are great abilities for Divite, but you don't have any attack buffs. You know, it's pure efficiency. If you choose the middle one with that bottom ability, that's the rare, with the rerolls and changing 3 of them to 6s. Yeah, you can you can charge anything, and you'll basically be guaranteed 3, 4, 5, 6 hits, no matter what, if you have that ability queued up. So that was clutch in the game against me. What questions do you have there, Money?
Oh, I was gonna say, in my observations, the one that almost no one is using, but is sneaky good, is the third one. And
the bottom right abilities?
Bottom right. And here's the combo. Like, this is the person who won the Winter League is running this. They use the one where you designate a unit, and anyone, and if how does it plays out? Anyone
if you don't charge that, or if you don't end it
them,
within medium or something, they take a fatigue.
Right. I think it's a charge, and I think you have to charge it. So that's number one. And if you don't charge it, you'll end up taking a fatigue, and it's anyone within. You said medium, so I think that's right.
There's 2 versions.
Right,
I think
but
you can soup it up.
The second part is the sneaky good part, where he lets you play your whole board. You place your dice, right? It's an orders reaction, and then he picks a unit within 12 units of the unit that he's playing this on, his own unit, and he drops a fatigue on you. And so he could completely wrong foot you. You're trying to place your dice protectively, like knowing that he can just drop a fatigue on a unit, and suddenly now you had 1 activation, you had 2, now you need 3.
Yeah, and I could see that because they, like I said, they kind of lack some attack, because that one ability is +1 to hit, but it's 2 dice for that one. It might even be a rare for that. I can't remember if it's a rare or not. But if you're that last one, you get 3 extra attack dice, I think.
Yep.
Top of the 2, so you get a +1 to hit and 5 dice for 2 die. I mean, so nobody's gonna complain about that. So,
right?
Yeah, that's really interesting with that fatigue play, because they get to put a fatigue on a unit if you choose that last one. So
it also screws you on any scenario where you need to cluster around things. So he will tuck that unit in. Like, if you're playing objectives, guess what? You need to get up. You need to take those objectives. And he's placed there, and you now need to put a dice to make a charge you didn't want to take. So it was like, I always wondered, I always wanted to test that ability, and then I saw it in real time. I'm like, damn it, that's a really good ability. Really, there are no bad ones on that board. That's the issue.
We talked about the successor board. It's pretty wild, man. Pretty wild stuff. Yeah, S++, I would say. So at the end of the day, though, very happy to come away with best general in this field. Had to play my ass off. So 3 games against successors. I'll just have a real quick little review of the board. So Student of Xanthippus is almost worthless in this one, because you have to cluster around your warlord, and you do not want to. You're clustering around the warlord is fine if you're 18 inches away, but you don't want to form a battle line and meet them head on. So I used it once against Terry, because he snuck some guys in through a ruse into my back line. So my warlord was back there anyways, and I'd have to charge the unit twice. So I thought, I'll get +1s on both of them, and maybe we worth 2 dice. The lay is interesting. I would almost, Monty, not queue up delay against them, because I think there's 2 schools of thought here. So with the successors, they can move without fatigue, clear the fatigues, fight without a fatigue.
Yeah.
So I had it up in many of the games, or many turns during those 3 games. And when it's up, they can play completely clean, get 1 full solid attack, and have absolutely no fatigues. And you can't stop the attacks, because they can go in without, charge with no fatigue. So they can get in, and they can get out. They can end it without fatigue. So it doesn't do anything. So you could look, though, you're keeping them honest in that respect. What I might do is not put the dice down, and then just challenge them to just play a little loose, just get a little, try to push it. And you don't know if you're going to roll the rare on your turn, and they don't know either. So they could play, they play clean like they did because they know it could come on your turn, or they get a little loose, get a little wild, and do an additional activation when maybe they wouldn't. And then hopefully on your turn, you roll the rare and you punish them, for doing that. So, I might play a little differently against the successors versus always having to lay up all the time. Because we know the Carthage board is pretty hungry, Monty.
It is.
Needs those dice. So, if I could get the benefit without having to actually put it down, I might do that. Sacred Band is clutch with the heavy chariots, even if they are re-rolling dice. Encirclement, love this one, having the big units. Yeah, this is an auto every time. Never used Eagle Eye, never had the dice for it. I did use it once against Adam, shooting at some levies and some rocks. Blood Price, maybe I had this up. I think maybe I had this up when Adam charged in, and with his big pack on the heavy chariots. So I can't remember. That might have saved me, but I can't remember using it. That combined tactics is so expensive for what it does, but you have to use it. So I'd use it on the chariots going in to keep them clean. So it's die to move, die to charge, 2 dies for combined tactics to keep them clean. And it's like half my dice, just moving them, keeping them clean. I never used it defensively with the contingents. We talked about it, Monty, but it's 2 dice to have on the board. You just can't. If you leave that on your board defensively, you're going to have coordination, tenacity. I mean, it's like you're leaving your whole turn on the board, not doing anything. Coordination with tenacity was clutch for defense on the horseman. But it's so, Monty's so dicey. You just don't know if it's going to help or not. And you're just praying that when they come in, you're going to roll a bunch of 6s with rerolls and 5s and everything. And so sometimes I would say I rolled average with those abilities. So they'd come in, they would always get some hits through and take out some of the horsemen. But they never quite botched it, and they never quite saved them all. So it was just kind of average luck. But you just never know if you can save it or not. And redeployment is good, but again, it's another die that you're not using on your turn. And so typically I had to use that to activate units or get stuff going. So that was my Carthaginian review. Monty?
Well done.
Yeah. Sad you couldn't be there. Looking forward to facing you on top table at the end of,
I'm a little suspicious about that. Oh man, it would have been so hard. The tests were not encouraging. Anyway.
All right. So had a lot of fun playing those guys. And we're not done yet. I'm going to have to, like I said, the heavy chariots aren't quite done. So I want to finish those and do at least another event, the heavy chariots, before switching to the elephant. And like I said, unfortunately, I painted too many horsemen now. So I only have to paint another 10, and I have a Numidian warband.
Yes.
With a unit, a levy, and an elephant.
So good.
Probably in my future. All right. Moving on to Saturday. So, Monty, you had to bow out. And I was out there, had my fishing pole, casting out some lines for some likely suspects. And Monty, I came back with a whopper here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it was a little bigger. I'd had to throw it back. But DJ Andrews from Indiana Crew, so he was just doing seminars or something, and he agreed to step in and be my partner that day. So he was running Britons, and he has a few different war bands, but we decided that would be the best. I was running Pagan Peoples, always clutch, starting in a team tournament with 8 dice. Nothing demoralizes your opponent quite like rolling 8 dice to start the game. But we were playing Sean Moomey and his buddy Brendan round 1. Sean was running Irish. Brendan was running Normans. So a little reminiscent of our pagan people's Norman combo from last year. So I was pretty worried about the damage we would be taking here. And this one ended up being a tough game for us. So this was our first game. Me and DJ, we didn't really coordinate too well. There was a lot of us doing plays that we didn't want to do them. And they weren't likely to succeed, but we had to do it anyways because of the circumstances. So this one is the old coot scenario. So each side had a mystic.
Yep.
So there's a hill in the middle. They had a forest on one side, rocky ground on the other. Sean was all rolled up in that rocky ground. But the forest, there was room for a teleport of pagan peoples. And he had his Norman bow levy in there. So that's perfect. We'll teleport over. We'll charge in, do some damage, take him out of the game. That'll be our woods. And first turn, got my 8 dice. All set up for the teleport. But fortunately, one common short for Perkun's ability, which gives me 4 extra attack dice. So you could see if I had 10 attacks with Perkins, I could pop the reroll ability at that point. It's valuable going with 10 attacks. I can follow it up with a second charge using Lama and the Kira fatigue free. And so I'd have 16 or 18 hits on those, or attacks on those levy. But so we're dice down. So I would only be going in with 6 attacks with my warrior unit, which isn't enough to do damage, even if I do it twice. But we had to do it, Monty. We had to go. We had to try and get the woods.
Right.
So we go in. Horrible trade. Yeah, the levies kill more warriors than I kill levy. So that's fine. Next turn, they clear out those woods with Sean's javelin warriors. Okay, so now the woods could still be ours and would teleportable if we can take out those javelin warriors. They're partially in the woods, partially out. They got a fatigue on them. He's got the 1 defense dice ability. Every fatigue you take, or it's the defense ability for the Irish. You get 2 defense dice, plus if the enemy has a fatigue. Right. So we got to hit them, Monty. We got if we don't take them out, they're going to claim those woods for good. And so we had to do a double activation with the Britons. And with that defense dice ability, we're probably not going to win, but we have to do it, we got to do it. We got to claim those woods. So that kind of fizzles out. It's turn 3, getting towards the end of the game. We only got through 3 turns. Got to make our attack run on the Mystic. I don't quite have enough levy nearby. I got 2 units, but they're 2 units of 2 levy. So even with the charges and auto hits, I probably don't have enough to do it, but I got to go for it. This is the one turn to do it. And, it probably shouldn't work. And it didn't work in the end. He was exhausted, but we couldn't take him out. So just all of our stuff, like we felt like at the time we had to do it. So in hindsight, maybe we didn't need to do it, but you don't want those levy claiming the woods. You don't want his Irish warriors scampering off. And, that was our one shot to hit him. It was our one shot to hit the Mystic. So ended up being a loss for me and DJ in the end. And we didn't quite we did 3 turns. So it was kind of a short game. I can't see us coming out ahead really in the end, except through reversing some of the luck that we had by killing their Mystic and ours staying alive.
Right.
But it was a good game.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup.
Yeah. So they had the shooting. They could pluck away at my little levy units without fear. Get any damage themselves or expending more resources than normal. So yeah, our one shot was to take out the Mystic. And it probably wasn't going to work. They had to roll some saves, but they made them. So good on those guys. And I think they did quite well in the end. And round 2 ended up going against a fella named Cole. And they were running Ordenstadt, Yams Vikings. It's quite a heavy Hearthguard build. And DJ had adjusted his configuration a little bit in this one. So he had big unit of 12 warriors. He switched out his bow levy for javelin levy. So we felt like we had more attack power in this one. Versus the last one, he had 8 warriors, 4 warriors, 12 bow levy. We had no tooth and we had no punch. So we switched that up for this one and worked out pretty well. These guys, kind of newer guys, they didn't really know each other, but somehow they had gotten hooked up through the Discord, I think, or maybe through John had coordinated them and matched them up. They're running pretty Hearthguard heavy, and so in this one, I was able to beat them up pretty good, just through our sheer skill, Monty. Sheer audacity.
Pagan people like to face Hearthguard heavy builds. That's a nice trade for you.
Yeah, I was able to plink at them, do auto hits, finish them off in melee. So the shooting was whatever restriction, if you want to call it, didn't factor in too closely. And this one, that extra hitting power was clutch because we were fighting over the 3 objectives in the middle. So it ended up being a big win for us. And then in round 3, we're playing Tony and Tom, Republican Romans and Carthaginians. And there was one objective in the middle that people were fighting over. You could try to grab it, but you needed a 6 to grab it. You roll a d6 on a 6, you can pick it up. Otherwise, you bounce off. If the enemy's not within short, you get a +1. So it gives you an incentive to kind of get out there, kind of have a fight out there. Mm-hmm. This one was pretty good for us. So they moved up. They kind of had smaller warrior units. So we're able to bully them with our 12-pack and the Levy Javelin unit. Able to teleport over, start plinking away. And then when he came into the terrain to knock the Levy out, I was able to teleport over some warriors and beat up the little warrior packs and Hearthguard units. Just to give you an example, I was running at peak pagan efficiency by the end, Monty. So in the early turns, you were playing it pretty slow. So whenever I get a rare, I just bank it on the upper right. I wouldn't use it. And so going into the 4th or 5th turn, maybe I had 3 up there to start with. And then I rolled 1 or 2 more and was able to pop the Terra Avita, I think. It gives you 2 extra shooting, 2 extra in melee. And so they had their warlords next to each other, next to the elephant. And the elephant had gotten fatigued up due to some fatigue bombs or shooting or something. So 1 unit of levy, I was able to move it, shoot the elephant out, fatigue bomb those warlords. I think his stampeding caused another casualty on one of the warlords. So I just charged him in to the one warlord, the Roman warlord. He was on a horse. And so I just had 4 attacks. And I was like, well, I'm not even going to pop the auto hits. I think I can just pop him. He was exhausted. And sure enough, popped him, with +1 to hit.
Yep.
And then, so he went down, fatigue bombed the other warlord. And so now that other warlord's exhausted. And then, so I charged him in again and then popped the auto hits on that one. So that one levy unit killed an elephant and 2 warlords in 1 turn.
That's a record. That's pretty good.
So that was the nastiest little levy unit that there ever was. So ended up doing some damage there. And then I think we got lucky. We were kind of having a fight over that objective. It wasn't decided, but then I had a unit of warriors on the back. I'm like, I'll just see if I can grab it, maybe. Like, I need a 6. And sure enough, just roll that 6, grab the objective, and then from then on, we're just pulling back with that objective. So ended up being a good game, but those bigger wins, round 2 or 3, helped boost us up, and we ended up pretty high up on the board. In the end, I think 5th, maybe. Look at the thing here.
That's really a good finish.
So 4th actually. Okay. So ahead of Sean and Brendan, which is all that matters. When you
right.
If you beat first, you guys should have lost to us. You would have scored higher in the end. But yeah, ended up being a really fun day, and I never got to play with DJ before. We haven't even played. I don't remember playing against them at any point. So took a chance and had a lot of fun. The winners end up being Doug and either Shea or Shay Dunn. So those guys are from Ohio. The best general ended up being, I believe, Andrew Bertelson and Andrew Gustafson.
Right.
So Doug and Shay were running Anglo-Saxons and Irish. Andrew was running Anglo-Saxons, Mormons.
Oh.
And then best sport was Dan Neal and Mike Collier. They actually came in third. And best appearance was Scott DeRung and Tom Rodemeyer. So
there we go.
We've won it before. And so
yes, they did.
Congrats to everybody for the good games. We'll say, so switching formats slightly to the kind of Polish start with full dice, but there's defensive dice. It really slowed the games down compared to last year. So many games only got through turn 3.
Wow.
And turn 4. So we're gonna look to switch that around. Probably go back to the old way. At least you get through 4 turns. If you have a slow start, it's kind of like a half a turn. So when you get to turn 4, it's like 3.5 turns.
Yeah.
Versus turn 3. Turn 3 is also like 3.5 turns if you start with full dice and your opponent starts with half a board up. So just a matter of perception.
Interesting. I wouldn't have predicted that.
Yeah. Who knows? So something to look into for next year. And going into Age of Vikings and Invasions, I took the Irish to that one. So my report on those 3 games is going to be, it's already up, Patreon, but we'll pop over to the results here. So the winners of the team tournament, Monty, putting on a very impressive show because Shay Dunn and Doug Dunn were first and second. So best overall, best general. Shay was running Irish, Doug with the Anglo-Saxons. Our friend the Silver Fox came in third.
Nice.
Charles with Anglo-Saxons in fourth, and I was able to finish 5th place with the Irish. So pretty happy with that result.
First run out.
Yeah, first run. Could have used some more practice games for sure, but very happy with how that ended up.
Yeah, interesting. I do remember thinking when I looked at the list of the players for the event for the last day, I was surprised by how few people ran Age of Invasions. I know how much people like that, and didn't see a single Saxon player in there. That was what I was going to run. So,
okay,
interesting.
Cool. Yeah, so there were some Huns, Romans.
Yep.
Goth. Yeah, there really wasn't much. DJ running his Britons. I don't know. People are all burned out from Goths.
Yeah.
At this point, Monty, do you think
so? And Saxons, Anglo-Saxons at least, were ascendant. They were everywhere.
Yeah, Anglo-Saxons are they're just a good, solid army.
They're tough.
You think about tournament reliability over the long run. They're quite insulated against bad luck compared to the other factions. Obviously, they can have it. They need those rares for their ultimate attack, but you don't need the rare every turn.
Agree.
When you're playing against them, they definitely roll the rare every turn. So,
yes,
they don't need it every turn. Yeah, they can load it up.
Right.
Just having it once or twice, usually enough to see them through. So, yeah, it was a good mix. Also, lack of Vikings this year. I think folks are finally burned out.
Yeah.
On their there's some Yams Vikings. So I think our resident Vikings switched it up to Vikings. I think the most Normans, four Normans. Maybe Anglo-Saxons.
Normans are always good. Always.
6. Anglo-Saxons was 6th.
Wow.
So
it's a lot of levy painting there. Kudos.
Yeah, it is a lot of levy painting. So kudos to those guys for getting the job done with their levy painting. And overall, it was a really great weekend. Had a blast. Very exhausting weekend for sure. And we had quite a travail on the way home, Bonnie.
Ooh, how bad was that? Did you leave Sunday night or Monday?
Yeah, so we left Sunday night.
Sunday night.
And
okay.
we have our hotel. We're tournament organizers, so they give us a hotel room through Sunday night, so we can stay Sunday. And I was like, Tom was driving. He had his 2-wheel pickup truck, rear wheel drive.
Ooh.
I'm like, Tom, yeah, if you want to stay, we can stay. And he's like, well, tomorrow's my first day of work at my new job, so we got to go home tonight.
Yeah.
And so we hit the trail, and actually, it was like, where's the weather? Yeah, it seems fine. Up until we were about an hour away from home, that's when it finally hit. So the weather was basically rain that built up and basically froze, and then turned into soft, pillowy snow on top of the ice. And so we had that for, probably took 2 hours, 15 minutes for a trip that would normally be an hour at that point. And so we were stuck behind, we were lucky enough to get behind some plow trucks twice, but they were going like 25 miles an hour.
Ooh, yeah.
Halfway through, they pull over at the county line and turn around. So right between Marathon County, my county, and Portage County, right at the county line, there's a huge hill. And so that dude, he turned before the hill. And so it's like the car, we were the third one in line. And that first car like almost stopped because they probably didn't know what to do, because we weren't sure how much of a difference that plow truck was making, because the road was still garbage. We were behind it and it was still junk.
Right.
But it was like way, 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 way worse after that truck pulled off. So that guy in the front, he's probably like, oh crap. Like, I don't want to do this, but like, no. You got to go.
You do.
And so Tom, we're going up the hill, and like, Tom, there's no visibility. Tom only knows there's a hill because I'm telling him there's a hill. I'm like, Tom, you got to get up to speed, man. It's like every time he hits the gas on the truck, his tires are spinning, and it's like, you got to go. So it's like white knuckling up this hill. But we made it up.
Okay.
And then it was good enough to get us home.
Okay.
We're back to Wausau. But I live on a giant hill in Wausau, and yeah, we were stuck, couldn't get up the hill to my house. So we had to double back to his place and then get in his wife's Subaru. And so I had to leave a bunch of crap there. And then even then, he could only get me close enough to like a trail through the backwoods. That's like 2 blocks. I had to get out, grab my pillow, grab my backpack, and then huff it through the trail, like planes, trains, and automobiles trying to get home. So.
And for the viewers, you might point out that this is probably like 1 a.m.
Well, for us, this was like after 11.
Oh, 11. Did you get out early?
So we were done by 6.
Okay.
And so we should be home by 9:30.
Oh, okay.
Mathematically,
right.
during on a normal night.
Yeah.
But it was, like 11:15 when he got dropped off. Now, we only had an hour of this junk. So the Twin Cities guys, so this would have been you, Monty.
Yeah.
Those guys, when it hit them, they still had like 2.5 or 3 hours to go.
Exactly.
And so that time was doubled. And so Scott checked my phone in the morning. He got a Facebook message. He's like, finally got home. It was 3:49 a.m. that he got home. So
gosh.
He left before 6 from Chicago, 6 p.m., and got home 3:49 a.m. So this is the dedication to tournament organizers. Bonnie. So
he was riding in the perfect vehicle for this. I thought Chris had his Expedition, big old bus of a car with giant tires. But Chris is an amazing driver, amazing person. He said that they were driving down the freeway and they saw like 9 jackknifed semis.
Oh my gosh.
And just loads of cars. He said people would drive by him in the left lane stupidly, like it was regular weather.
There was people
and 2 minutes later, they'd be off the road and you'd just be like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. So we would, that happened too. I did big trucks coming through on the left, big wheels. I'm like, okay, well that's a kid in there. Like no grown adult would be driving like that
Right,
in
right.
those big pickup trucks like that. Yeah, people just crazy. I'm like, yeah, just go whatever speed. As long as we get there, it's better than going in the ditch, you know. So it
Right.
was pretty wild times to end out our Adepticon trip. So
Yeah. I'm glad everyone got home safe. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's all fun, but you you need to get home and you need to get home in one piece.
So really thankful for that. So all right, that will wrap up the Adepticon coverage. So I do have all of the winners are scheduled to chat with me. None of them have been recorded, but they're all scheduled. So hopefully in the following weeks, we'll hear from Scott DeRung, Stephen Holdeman, and the Duns about how they managed to pull it out. So
Nice.
we still got a little bit more to do here, Monty, and we've got the spring. We just had the biggest winter storm ever, but it's the spring paint contest, buddy.
Nice.
So this one is for other people to feel my pain, Monty, of painting these chariots. So contest is for a large model. Okay. So this could be a large model like an elephant or a monster, a creature from Age of Magic, something big like that. We'll also accept a multi-part model like a chariot. So like a Manu Ballista, if there's multiple, anything with multiple models will be acceptable. If it's not a large model, something with single models based on a single base. So like a warlord with a guy, with the banner or something would be acceptable. So the lowest threshold we will accept is 2 models on one base will also qualify. But something like a chariot, war machine, Manu Ballista, monster, elephant, either something large or, multiple models on a large base is what we're looking for. So this will run through April 28th. Okay. So you've got a solid 4 weeks to work on this. And let's see what people can do here. Monty and I will pick our favorite. They're going to win the SAGA THORSDAY Pint class. The random winner will get Gripping Beast gift certificate. Let's do, have my little verbiage queued up, but you have to take a picture before in front of the screen for the video. So Monty, let's put our thumbs down. Thumbs down. This is before they're painted. Let's get this thumbs down. So take a picture of your model in front of the screen when we got our thumbs down here, and then post the finished ones on the SAGA THORSDAY Discord. There's a paint contest section there. And thank you to the patron. This was patron suggested as well. A couple people like this idea of painting a large model of some kind. So looking forward to seeing those results. And like I said, that's on the Discord. We got over 1,000 folks on there at this time. So check it out. We've got the player finder up and running. I think we're getting close to 300. Looking to get to 500 by November. So we need more pins on there. And coming up in future weeks, like I said, we've got the discussions with the champions of each of the Adepticon events. So hopefully all those recordings go smoothly. And I'll just play those out back to back for the rest of the month or something like that. I think that is going to be it for this one. I do want to thank Terry, Patrick, Sean, Mitchell, Scott, Frank, Britt, DJ, and the rest of the SAGA THORSDAY patrons. Wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And it was great meeting all the patrons and everyone else at Adepticon. Best part is always the people. Say, Monty. Anybody has any questions about Adepticon, the results, my games, or anything else, definitely comment below and we'll get back to you. But Monty, I think that's enough discussion for a while. Check you later, folks. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
SAGA! If you'd like to see more SAGA content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon or popping on down to the SAGA THORSDAY Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.